Tonight, News Channel 5's ongoing investigation discovers the man who's helping to fuel some of the wild conspiracy theories inside the Millersville Police Department. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rory Johnston.
And I'm Carrie Sharp. That man, it turns out, is a so-called pedophile hunter from Tucson who believes America is controlled by, quote, what he calls a satanic cult masquerading as Jews.
News Channel 5's chief investigative reporter Phil Williams continues to follow the leads on, Phil, what seems to be a story that has no bottom, right?
No doubt about that. When Millersville police wanted to run a child sex predator sting back in May, they did not turn to other cops who have experience doing this important work. Instead, we discovered they turned to a man known for his own wild conspiracy theories and a warning: some of the situations he and his friends imagine can sometimes be graphic.
It has to deal with kids that are actively being smuggled, being chained to walls, that are being raped.
After years of voicing some bizarre conspiracy theories, Millersville Assistant Police Chief Sean Taylor decided back in May to gather a group of like-minded MAGA activists to run a child sex predator sting. That group was led by this man.
My name is Saul. I'm a U.S. Navy SEAL. Defending the innocent is my trade.
Craig Soulman Sawyer found a new career after his military service playing the hero on television here in Animal Planet's Rhino Wars.
Well, in a scenario like this, I would want to engage the driver first to stop the vehicle at the earliest possible juncture.
And in a handful of sniper-related TV shows, his next move?
And I know that for this kind of work, especially dealing with cartels, I'd need a team of guys I could depend on for high-threat security.
Making a film about going after the pedophile rings he imagined his team of veterans would find on the southern border.
So I put together what I called the Viper Team, Veterans Interdicting Pedophile Rings.
Sawyer would also create a nonprofit group, Veterans for Child Rescue, although there's no evidence that the group ever rescued any children. And the film does not show them actually interdicting any pedophile rings at the border.
What we found was a tree that looks like a rape tree back over here.
But here in Tucson in 2018, Sawyer led a local TV crew to an encampment that he and his documentary team thought might have been their big break.
This may have been a place where the child was made to hold on to this.
Then Sawyer, who portrays himself as a trained federal investigator, breathlessly reported his group's stunning conclusion.
They're telling me this looks like a child rape camp. That's what they're telling me.
In fact, Tucson police reported there was no evidence it was anything but a homeless camp. Still, as the local newspaper reported, the lack of evidence did not stamp out the flames of a sex trafficking conspiracy theory that had caught fire.
Now, there's some recent things that have been brought to light for you that are about to be disclosed.
These days, Sawyer continues to push his conspiracy theories on far-right podcasts, including unproven claims about plane loads of children being flown into the U.S. by sex traffickers, which is what he says brought him and his group to Middle Tennessee back in May.
And one of those locations is near Nashville, Tennessee, that they're flying the children into. And so there's a lot of child trafficking around Nashville.
In fact, Nashville police say they've never had any reason to believe that such flights actually exist. Of course, like with most conspiracy theories, Craig Sawyer has never actually produced any evidence. No photos or videos of planes, no children in cages. What he does have is a video camera where he makes the most outlandish of claims, soliciting money in the name of combating child sex trafficking.
In the almost 4 years that I worked with Veterans for Child Rescue, I'm not aware that they ever actually combated child trafficking. Now, therein lies my actual concern.
Kim Kelly says that as a child trafficking survivor, she came to the group hoping to make a difference. What she found instead was what she calls performance activism, tagging along with law enforcement as they conduct child predator stings.
Can we chat at the house or should we not wait until...
Cannot chat without one of the officers present. Yes.
Okay.
Which was the plan in Millersville.
Catching pedophiles on the internet, that's a worthy cause, but that's not the same thing as child sex trafficking. Those are two separate things. You could try to correlate that, but it's not necessarily so.
We realize it's kingdom over a country. Now, we still love our country.
Online, Sawyer spouts all sorts of bizarre conspiracy theories about a secretive organization or cabal engaged in the torture, rape, organ harvesting, and ritual murder of children, decrying the satanic pedos who run America, even claiming that Taylor Swift sold her soul and the children are her target.
This whole picture that he's painted of this whole leftist cabal and all these things that I see them as sort of trigger words or the narrative that he's painting because his followers like to believe that story.
Tell folks about your idea. I know other people are launching similar ideas. Already have. I know.
In fact, we discovered that Sawyer announced the creation of Veterans for Child Rescue on Alex Jones' show on InfoWars.
Well, a lot of these pedophiles are very connected, they're very wealthy, and they own a lot of the media.
He later announced that the notorious conspiracy theorist, the man who had mocked the murder of innocent children at Sandy Hook, had written a $100,000 check for the cause. More recently, the former Navy SEAL has given credit for supporting his organization to the Reverend Sean Moon, head of the gun-loving Rod of Iron Ministries now based in East Tennessee. Sean Moon believes his father was a new Messiah and that his father chose him as his successor. Sean Moon's crown is a crown of bullets, and he views himself as ruling over a kingdom that will come to rule the earth.
So Craig viewed it as it's a source of money.
Right, they literally were saying we take money from the devil if we could use it to protect children. Again, my problem is they're not actually protecting children with that money, but knowingly associating with a known cult, a very notorious cult, like you can't play stupid that hard to pretend like you don't know.
How pervasive is it? How endangered are my children and grandchildren?
And Sawyer continues to court the MAGA crowd. Then when I began to investigate his friend Sean Taylor...
we'd like to talk to you about some of your conspiracy theories.
All right, well, have a good day.
The Saw Man decided to train his sights on me, texting his team, quote, "It seems like a pretty radical, overly aggressive, and desperate effort to stop Sean from disrupting the cabal in Tennessee."
You say red flags. I mean, I got all these red flags coming up.
Sawyer then returned to InfoWars, labeling me a pedophile protector. There and on other far-right platforms, he leveled all sorts of bizarre accusations.
It doesn't make any sense on the surface unless there's a criminal network or a pedophilia aspect that Williams is desperate to protect.
They go on this whole rant with it's a false premise.
And do you think he really believes that?
Oof, it's hard for me to understand the mind of a conspiracy theorist because I think a lot of times they get more attention for perpetuating those beliefs and they know what sort of revs people up or gives their followers clickbait to get excited about.
And that's why Kim Kelly argues that people who are driven by conspiracy theories rather than facts are distracting from the real problems of human trafficking.
I look at that as exploiting the problem or profiting off the problem, which I think makes you part of the problem.
Of course, we wanted to give Mr. Sawyer a chance to respond to the findings of our investigation, but instead of talking to me, he went on a podcast by another conspiracy theorist to respond. Tomorrow at 6, we'll take a look at that interview and show what it reveals about the twisted mind of someone involved in all these conspiracy theories.
I had to pick my chin off the ground here, Phil. But the thing is, in all seriousness, people like this are taking an issue that really is a serious concern for law enforcement, but they are twisting it.
That's right. I spoke with a detective who specializes in human trafficking. He says they do see child sex trafficking here in Nashville, but it usually involves runaways, occasionally children being trafficked by family members. What they have not seen is any evidence of the sort of grand international plots that Craig Sawyer uses to raise money.
Looking for real evidence here, no doubt about it. And we're looking forward to you dissecting that podcast as well.
It's interesting.
All right, thank you, Phil.